Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Simply Cyber Live. I am your host, Dr. Gerald Auger, and today we have a truly special guest joining us. This guy's awesome. Now, whether you're a seasoned cybersecurity pro or just someone with a keen interest in, keeping the world secure, you're in for a treat. There's going to be value here for everybody, regardless of walk of life, skill level, interest industry. You're going to get some value. This guy is epic. Now, we are thrilled to welcome to the show today, Or Yair. Now, Or is a renowned security researcher with over 6 years of experience. And I literally had to fact check this number with him because when you see his accomplishments and what he's done, you're like, no, fact check. But yeah, 6 years of experience, and the guy's absolutely crushing it. Currently, he is making groundbreaking discoveries at SafeBreach Labs, where he leads innovative vulnerability research. His work has significantly impacted threat mitigation, and he's widely respected for his expertise in platform research, including Linux kernel components, Android, and most recently, Windows operating system vulnerabilities. So basically, he's a full service security researcher. Okay. He plays in all the pools. Or Yair has shared his knowledge and insights at some of the most prestigious cybersecurity conferences around the world, and he's pretty humble about it, but including Black Hat, Sector, RSA, just to name a few. You may have heard of these smaller conferences, right? He's known for his creative approach to security research, constantly challenging conventional thinking and pushing the boundary of what's possible. One of his standout contributions is the development of techniques to turn endpoint detection and response systems, some of you may know it as EDR, into malicious wipers using zero-day exploits. And this is a topic that we're absolutely going to dive into during our discussion today. Now, before we bring Or on stage, I want to remind all of you in chat that your engagement is absolutely critical and encouraged. I encourage you to ask questions, share your thoughts, engage with each other, be part of the conversation, be part of the show. I see so many of you: Chris Cahall, Jesse Johnson, Terrence Banks, Silent Hawk, so many squad members all up in here. FedEx, AJ and AZ. I told you this morning when this guy was coming on, this is not a show you're going to want to miss. So do me a favor, drop your Oprah emotes if you are a squad member. And if you're not, put your hands together, because without further ado, I would love to welcome to the stage, as soon as I find my mouse, Or Yair. Let's go get him. What's up, Or? How are you, man?
Okay, how are you?
Good. Hopefully that introduction was fairly factually accurate and very, very impressive. Very cool, man. How do you find so much time to do research? Let's just get into that, because you're doing a million things.
Yeah, so actually I do that full time, so it is true that the research that we do is finished pretty fast. But if you are really, really passionate about cybersecurity and security research more specifically, then you work extra hours. It's something that I want to do, even if I won't get paid for that. So working extra hours to do something you love, you make it fast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Preach, dude. We say that all the time. Like cybersecurity, I'll help anyone and everyone get into it, but it benefits you if you have serious passion for it. Now, you just kind of taking it back for a second, right? So you were with the Israeli Defense Forces for a minute, and I'm sure you did cyber-related stuff there, security research. How did that experience kind of shape your approach to cyber research in general?
So I can't get too much into what I did in the IDF.
Oh, yeah, and I'm absolutely not asking you to drop state secrets live on TV here, but just how has your experience influenced the way you do security research?
Yeah, so actually I did research, not necessarily always for vulnerabilities, but I would say that working in the working in the army to protect your homeland really like makes you extra passionate about what you do, because like it's cool to find vulnerabilities and to do research to like because it's cool. But in addition, if you help protect your country, and like you do that because you have to, and this is also the reason why Israel is good at cybersecurity, because like we have to do that. We have to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
So it puts you in a place where you feel like you need to do that and you want to do that. So it I would say that it did shape my passion for security research.
I love that. Now, coming right out the gates with a question, Yosef wanted to know, and this is a common question: did you go to college? How'd you get your first job?
Um,
This is kind of a big thing, right, in our industry.
yeah. So actually, in Israel, that's really that's something that is really really different than all, I think, other countries in the world when you talk about cybersecurity. Basically, because we have we have like we learn what we do at some places in the army. So a lot of people are getting out of the army and just have that practical knowledge to work as security researchers and in generally in the cybersecurity industry. So since we already did have the practical knowledge and we did it practically, we actually did the craziest stuff that you can think of, then I would say that a lot of the times, even if you don't have all the theory set up in place, then when you dive into the actual technicalities and start working, then I think that there is no better way to learn than that. So it's a pretty big thing in Israel that many people don't do college or don't do university and have really, really deep knowledge in cybersecurity.
Yeah, interesting observation. One of those international perspectives that is really nice to hear and kind of appreciate, so you can understand other cultures. Now, I'm kind of curious, or like at some point, again, I do GRC stuff, right? So like I'm the nerd with the clipboard, but I have done red stuff and I've done blue stuff professionally, but red stuff academically. And the first time I ever caught a reverse shell, I was like, "Ooh, that feels good," right? And I've done like academic reverse engineering and rip apart firmwares and stuff, and found some cool things. Honestly, a CVE that I never disclosed because I was like a total puss about it, but it came out years later. Someone else got credit for it. I'm curious, what was your did you ever have like kind of an epiphany, like your first kind of like score, right? Your first like 0 day or CVE, like what was that like? Was it like, oh my god, did I just discover this, or did you just kind of stumble into it?
Um, like I wouldn't say that I stumbled into it. It was definitely a part of a research, um, but I had an assumption, um, which was different than all other assumptions, which is a thing that you usually start a research with, or at least you should. Um, and yeah, the first CV that I found was really amazing. It was like you described it. It was like, wow, I can't believe I found it.
Oh, that
Like
is so cool.
this is like I thought, wow, I finally found one, and like you believe that this is going to be maybe the only one. Um, then it changed.
Yeah, so let me ask you that, because I know on the red side of the house, um, pen testers, if you talk to them, not all of them, but a lot of them, they get kind of like the dopamine hit stops coming, right? It's like you pop so many shells, you're just like, okay, I pop in shells, whatever. Like as a security researcher, do you lose that like ooh-ness of finding things because it is your job and because you go to work and just do it? And I'm sure you're just a machine now cranking these things out. But how has your perspective of that experience changed over time?
So it has a few aspects. First of all, when I think about like the beginning of my way, then I will also say that I didn't have a lot of belief in myself. Like you in order to find such vulnerabilities, you need to work hard for months, sometimes a year. If you like, this is not something that I've done personally, but if, for example, you look at iOS vulnerabilities, then it can be a few years of work just to find one vulnerability. So I really did not have a lot of self-belief. So the stage of doing the research before finding the first or second vulnerability is difficult too. So I think that now it's even more, it's even easier to continue doing research because the balance between like the self belief and the joy when you find a vulnerability,
Yeah.
it has more balance. But it is true that once I find vulnerabilities now, then it is less exciting than the first one. You cannot ignore it, but it's still very, very much exciting. First, I work, like as I mentioned, a few months, or it could be sometimes a year on a research to find a vulnerability. And other than just finding the vulnerability, once I find a vulnerability or a few, then I know that the assumptions that I defined when I started the research were proved. So because of that, I also know that I have something to present. I have something to bring to the community and teach a few lessons. So other than the excitement of just finding a vulnerability and get a CVE for it, like in the same moment, you also get excitement for knowing that you have something to teach the community and pass forward.
Oh, I love that. I am such an advocate of community and service, that it's really nice to hear that that's how you feel about that. And I want to circle back about conferences and community in a little bit. But since we're talking about finding these 0 days and getting CVEs, one question that I had kind of thought up in advance, like, a lot of, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I find Windows bugs, or like you said, I'm an iOS person or I'm a web app person, but you have research in Windows and Android and Linux. So like you don't, you're an equal opportunity security researcher. You will punch holes in anybody's operating system. What is there any differences to your approach to doing research on these platforms? Is there any difference in finding bugs in these particular platforms? Like, I just kind of understanding what the differences are to you.
Um, like I don't think that it matters too much. I think that I haven't done research in Linux and Android environments for a few years now, like here and there, but not too much. I stay in shape, I call it.
Nice, like it.
But no, there is no too much different. I think what matters is that once you do focus on something, you need to have it as your daily driver. And then once you have it as your daily driver and you just encounter bugs and weird behaviors on a day-to-day basis, you see something weird, you use something, you think to yourself, maybe this is a risk. This just comes from using it as your daily driver. So I think that in any of the platforms, you can see those things. It's just that you need to be familiar with them. Yeah, so I think just Right now, it is different for me because I use Windows as my daily driver. So it definitely looks different for me. Like sometimes I forget about deep like deep knowledge in Linux when I approach it, of course. So I need like to read stuff again and remember. But in Windows, it happens less, of course, just because I use it.
Yeah, all the time. Hey, would you? This is coming from Mod Chat, so this is coming from like on top of the mountain, being thrown down here. Can you share with the community here, a memorable vulnerability that you have under your belt?
Yeah. Like I can share. Like my latest research is called Magic Dot. So it actually highlights 4 vulnerabilities, but the most critical one is an RCE, which,
There we go.
yeah, this is it. So the RCE is an RCE of archive extraction. So Windows just added support for many archive types, many more, like all the ones that you usually use WinRAR and 7-zip for, like tar, targz, tarxz, and so on. And basically the vulnerability is that when you extract any one of the newly supported archives, then you can previously create like a malicious archive that when it will be extracted, then a file will be written to anywhere you want on the disk. So basically you can just write a file, for example, into the startup folder in Windows, and then the next time that the user logs into the system, then your code runs.
That's awesome. So, well, I guess for that particular vulnerability, but by the way, just as a quick pause, or this is something that I am passionate about. It's kind of an idiosyncrasy of mine. Did you create this logo? Who created this logo?
No, so actually we have someone who do design for us in SafeBreach. He's called Nick.
Okay.
And I just asked him to do that better than I did. I found the sketch first, like unlicensed, and like draw using MS Paint, and did it close to how it looks right now, but it came to be like that thanks to Nick.
Yeah, Nick. You said it's Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Nick. So not to digress or take us off topic, but I think having a logo is critically important to any real, vulnerability, right? Like, you and I can talk about it and we're like, oh, CVE 2024, 37, right? But like the business people, my uncle Paul, like they need something visual that they can look at, like Heartbleed. It's like, oh my God, why is it bleeding? And that seems awful. I just personally, I'm a huge fan of logos. Okay, thank you for that.
But I agree totally, and I have something to add about that.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's go.
I think that like logos, names are super important too. And like some people who present give like certain importance for that, but not all. So yeah, I think logo and a name are definitely critical, because we also want like the people that read or watch the presentation or the research will remember the research, and as a result, its takeaways too.
100%. I mean, that's part of like I don't want to call it marketing, but like you do want the research to have impact and be, carried forward through organizations, right? So you got to market it, right? So 100%. So for this particular Magic Dot one, you had mentioned, oh, I like to take an assumption, oftentimes a unpopular assumption or like a less common one, and then test it. For Magic Dot, what was, or if you can share, I don't know, but was there some kind of like opening thought of like, hey, you know what? Like, this is interesting. Let's go take a look at this.
Um, so in Magic Dot, actually, it started with something weird that I encountered. But yeah, the like epiphany came after that. So I basically using NT API, which is a lower level of API present in Windows. I created a file that ends with a dot in its name. As a result, weird things started to happen, which are not vulnerabilities. For instance, I created a.txt dot, and I had like the first I could not delete it using File Explorer. Then I created a.txt without the dot, and then when I tried to delete a.txt dot, so with the dot, just the normal a.txt was deleted instead. So weird things started to happen. I looked a little bit into that. I saw that Microsoft mentioned in their website that you should not name files or directories with trailing dots or spaces. So I would say that in this case, it's like the assumption is, okay, we should not name we should not name like files and directories with trailing dots or spaces, and it should be okay. Microsoft said like just don't do it because you'll have problems. Like it's probably not a security risk. They are aware of this problem and it's still present, so it's probably okay. Um,
Okay.
but then like I see it and I'm like, okay, this is to me like I can't assume that this is okay. I definitely want to use it somehow, and yeah, I searched a lot until I started to find.
I love it. So seeing abnormal behavior and then trying to basically understand why and then
I wouldn't
exploit it.
say that this is a normal behavior, um, but yeah, a lot starts with something small that you see strange, and many people assume that okay, this is okay. For instance, um, we use WhatsApp in Israel, so like WhatsApp for desktop keeps crashing every day that I use it,
Mhm.
and people are like, well, it's just it has a few bugs, you know, it crashes, let's restart it. But like I think to myself every day, I still didn't have the time to check what happens, but like I can't assume that this is okay.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I guess for anyone out there who's listening and watching, if you find yourself asking those questions, like Or is, it sounds like that might be a good security research might be a good avenue for you. Or like, this is a purely selfish question. Like, do you ever just like connect things to a network with a span port and then like just to see like what kind of traffic's coming out of it? I know that's more at the network layer than it is at the operating system layer, but like, do you do that just for like, to satiate curiosity?
Like just watch packets.
No, like basically like, you install on a fresh phone and you install TikTok and then you plug it in and span the network traffic so you can see like I'm doing nothing on my phone, but yet there's all this traffic going to these, different IP addresses. What are they digging in like that?
Um, so not really on that perspective. Just because I myself don't feel like I have like a lot to hide, so I'm not too like worried for my privacy.
Yeah, yeah.
But I will say that I do encounter a lot of times where I just install a new app. I just want to know how something works. It could be in the computer, on my phone, and yeah, I just open Wireshark or Fiddler to just look what happens.
Hmm. That's very cool.
I do have
So,
that for different reasons.
yeah, right. Exactly. So during the introduction, we talked about some other research that you've done that's pretty notable. You basically turned an EDR system into a wiper, which is, I just got to say, like, this isn't just mean, right? This is actually like cruel, because you're literally taking like the number one security mechanism and using it to do a horrible thing to an endpoint. Now, I know this is research and you're not doing it. You're not a bad person, but like, first of all, like, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know, was it just convenient that it was the EDR? Or can you talk to us about this research and what led to it? Because again, using the thing that we're depending on for security to do the insecurity thing is downright comical.
Yeah. So wait, what was it? Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just like I'm like freestyling as a host over here. Basically, can you talk to us about your EDR into system malicious wiper research? Kind of what inspired you?
Yeah. So I think that, to me, with like this, the ecosystem that we have in SafeBreach Labs, and like just the things that we talk about and how we think, it was actually not too like out of the place to think about this idea, because like I intentionally tried to think exactly at these directions. So if I try to think about the research, I try to think about like this can be one path in my mind that I try to think, which is like what do people trust the most? What is the assumption that people just take for granted and do not check, do not validate? So I think in the cybersecurity community, it's the security controls. I think they are the most trusted entity that people don't tend to look into too much. Like the like security controls are sold to us by many companies, and we are told that these products protect us, which is true. But we can't just say, okay, like you have your software, you have your operating systems and everything, and you want to have a guardian. That's okay, but the guardian is also a product. It's the same thing. It's a software too, so it could have bugs as well. And I think that this is something that is a little bit ignored. And yeah, so after that, once I realized that, okay, I want to do something with EDRs, then I thought, what are the most basic things that EDRs do from really old days, when there were still not EDRs, it was antiviruses, which are also built into EDRs, of course. What do? They delete files. They delete malicious files. So it's like deletion of files, of any file in the system, is a pretty powerful tool, if you can somehow take control over it. So this was really the inspiration. Like how can I use the most powerful ability of an EDR, the most basic one that happens a lot? How can I take control over it?
I love that. Like, it's so this is okay. So I'm gonna, full disclosure, right? The reason that I will never be a pen tester professionally, and why security research, while incredibly satisfying, is like a grind for me, is because I'm kind of a conformist, and I don't necessarily think outside the box, and I'm okay with that. I'm self-aware, but like it's one of those things that I never once thought about it, that EDR solutions delete malware. I never once thought they can delete any file. And now that you've said it, it is so obvious that I'm like, oh my God, how did I not know that? Oh my God. So it's very cool. So as far as your capability with this research, Aikido, right? And I noticed AI keto, right? So I've dropped a link to this research in chat, so you guys can go check it out. You presented this at Black Hat Europe, is that correct?
Yeah, in 2022.
Yeah, very cool. Did you take it any further? Were you looking at other capabilities within the EDR, or I guess did this research, you did this and then kind of moved on, or was there more kind of open research projects that you've yet to dive into?
So if we're talking about like really taking control over EDRs to do something malicious, then I did not take it further personally, but we did have more than a few brainstorm sessions on that, in our team. And this was actually taken further, first with the research that is called ED Razor. I think the name of the tool is ED Razor. The research was conducted by the VP research of SafeBreach, Tomer Bar, and Shmuel Cohen, which works at my team. And basically, what we thought about is that EDRs, like in the Aikido research, what I did was to create a malicious file, and then before the EDR deleted it, I redirected the EDR to a different file for deletion. So the file that was deleted in the end did not really have malicious contents. But then we said, but what if we do put malicious content in an innocent file, even if the Aikido vulnerabilities are migrated and like they're mitigated, they're patched, they no longer exist? What if we do just write malicious content into an innocent file? Mm-hmm. It will be deleted, right? But this will not be a vulnerability, since if we had privileges to write into this file, so of course if we put malicious content into it, it needs to be deleted. However, we are granted permissions to write into files in indirect ways, which we do not always think about. For instance, think about just a simple server that has a system of users, and you can register with a new user, create your username, email address, right? When you type in your username, it is saved into a database, and a database is a file. So on this machine where the database is located, it makes sense that an EDR will run. So if you can just write malicious strings, which are, let's say that the database is running on a Windows machine, and the Windows machine has built-in Windows Defender, of course. So if Defender has it, Defender has a lot of strings that if they're just present in files, then it assumes, well, this is the malicious file that I already saw before. They have signatures for that. So if you can just name a few usernames with the malicious strings that Defender identifies as malicious if they are present in files, so the database with the users is going to be identified as malicious and get deleted by Defender.
God. Oh my God. Oh, that is like Threat Actor Academy level training right there. Wow. Again, like brilliant, very clear line of thinking, and very logical as well. So yeah, dude, like your mind is blowing my mind right now, which is pretty cool. Dude, so I'm curious. I mean, you're young, you're hungry, you're obviously very accomplished. What do you do to like stay ahead of the curve? Because cybersecurity, whatever you do, whether it's research, operating systems are constantly changing, right? Patch Tuesday, etc. What do you do to stay ahead of the curve?
I'm actually not too worried about staying ahead. If we're talking about the technical stuff itself, I feel like every research I do I learn a lot of new stuff, like so many. I learn much more than the knowledge that I have to use in the research that I do. Like let's say the knowledge that I do have for the research that I'm doing is like 20%, 30% of the knowledge that I really need to have for the research. So if we're talking about technicalities, I'm not too worried about that. But I think that the advantage that security researchers, that successful security researchers have, is creativity. I consider creativity really as the key element for security research. You can do like really technical research, just reverse engineering all day long, reverse engineering Windows services to find the vulnerabilities, just like buffer overflows, man copies. You can search for them all day long, but eventually they will be migrated, and we're going into a world where logical vulnerabilities are really becoming the most popular ones. So you really, in order to find these vulnerabilities, you need to just, I think, understand the more simple thing, the more simple things about the features and how they work, because this is where the vulnerabilities, in my opinion, lie. Once you understand that the simple logic, like for instance, one of my other research was about turning OneDrive into ransomware. So if we're talking about OneDrive into ransomware, it's really simple. You know, when I started the research, I didn't need to do a lot of technical work. It was just mainly reverse engineering the HTTP API, the HTTP REST API of OneDrive in order to be able to communicate with their servers. But basically, just think about the fact that OneDrive is present in all Windows computers and that it does mass file operations by definition on your computer. It continuously synchronizes file with the cloud, right? It's just like a ransomware and a C2 server. Like you have you have a malware on your computer and it gets commands from the server. You can pass commands to the server using an API, a simple API that they designed to change the files on the server, and it will do the same changes on the computer. So this research, which I presented at Black Hat USA, which is considered one of the best conferences in the world, really did not took a lot of technical work. The main skill that brought me to success with this research, it's just the creativity when I started it.
Wow. Okay. So if you're just joining us, I do want to say hi to, Zach, IT Career Questions, Gil, David Stewart, FedEx, a lot of people coming in late. We're talking with Yair, who is a baller security researcher. So you'll notice his little name placard says baller. We don't typically use that. But if you've been listening for the last 10 minutes, the guy's just dropping insightful logic bombs all over the place. Or I am loving this conversation, my friend. So I want to talk to you because you just said like it's about creativity, right? How do you balance creativity with technical rigor, right? Because I know it's not all technical, but there is a balance there, right? What's your approach to that?
So balance it. I usually start with like when I examine where I'm going to conduct research, then I usually start by exploring the technicalities about a few products or an area in the operating system, or like the general area where I'm interested in. I gather some information, some technical information. but not too much. Like usually I do that because I continuously do research in other areas. I'm not looking always in the same place, but I'm looking like 2-3 days to understand the maybe in some areas it could be a week or two, but I'm trying to gather the general architecture of the thing that I'm looking at, and understand its flow and how it works. And then I'm saying, okay, I can do that forever. I can get to a point where I'm reverse engineering. I reverse engineer the whole thing, and I understand it like I developed it. But I think the edge that I have as a security researcher that can do research pretty much on everything that I want, is that I can really choose the most promising place. So I'm trying not to dive too much into each area that I examine, but after that, I do collect the sufficient information to understand like the basic things, which like to the technical level, but the basic things. Then I just start putting kind of a sketch or a diagram together to increase the creativity for ideas that I have regarding this topic. So it could be, for instance, it could be a list of a list of not a list, so it's just like you brainstorm something and you have like the circle in the middle and then you draw lines. So I just take a lot of words, really words, like just terms from the thing that I currently investigate into, and I put them on the brainstorming sketch. And then I just try to combine sentences from the words that I have on my screen. So, for instance, this was not really the case when I started the double drive research, which is turning one drive into ransomware. But if if for example, we'll just take a high level view on Windows, and we will list things that are present in Windows, and also put in some general cybersecurity terms that we know and that are maybe relevant to security researcher, to security research. Then, if we put ransomware and OneDrive, and you just continuously try to combine sentences, eventually you get to OneDrive ransomware and it just clicks.
Dude, that's awesome. What a really interesting way to do that research. And I make course content for some stuff, and I use a similar approach with like that kind of sticky notes, and then you start bundling like, oh, these are categorically go together, and just a really interesting approach. And I love the what'd you call it? Double drive? Double drive?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Hey, Tyler Ramsey with the super chat. Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate the support for the show. Or what do you do like in cybersecurity? Mental health is like, it's no longer considered a stigma. People, we work hard. You mentioned that sometimes you stay up late. You do the work until it's done. What do you do to kind of balance mental health? Like, do you have a hobby? Do you like kick it? What do you do?
Not too much for special things. I go to the gym once in a while. Lately, less. Used to go more. Now getting in shape again. And other than that, I just meet a lot with friends. My house is like the house of really the friends show. Like I have friends over. I think maybe 3 or 4 times a week. Parties and so on.
Yeah.
So this really balances.
Yeah, I love that. I think I've got you. You and I are similar. I just have the gym membership. I'm not quite I'm not quite using it. I just have the membership. Hey, let's look at your website here for a minute. Obviously, this picture right here, absolute baller. So this is your website, clearly, oryear.com. I guess, can you tell us, like, obviously I'm sending people here, your research is in here, you're speaking, your interviews, multimedia. Like, are you working on any projects that would be featured on the website?
Yeah, I'm working on another research currently. I actually finished it. I'm co-working or co-worked on it with Shmuel Cohen, which is in like a co-worker of mine. I can't say too much. I can't say maybe at all about it right now, but something really interesting is coming, hopefully, to one of the large upcoming conferences. So stay tuned. But it's pretty much ready, and we're looking into where to bring it.
All right. Well, that's very cool. So, more bleeding edge research coming from Yair to a conference near you. I'm not going to speculate. I mean, obviously, there's a couple we've just, like, RSA kind of kicks off conference season, and then we got all the summer. And then for me personally, I know it's a very small one, but Wild West Hackin' Fest ends my conference season. So, I mean, you've been to, like, a million conferences in your 6 years of cybersecurity experience. You got any memorable con moments or a conference that you particularly favor?
Let's think. I have them all here.
Yeah, people love your badge hangs. I don't know. Let us know in chat too. Do you hang your badges? I just moved into this space, so I don't have like a badge hang yet, but I am pro badge hang. I do enjoy that.
Yeah, I just love it. It, like, I'm not used to really like thinking of myself too much. I don't have the right term in English right now.
Yeah.
But I just, whenever I look at this, so each one of these badges is a speaker badge, so I just see my progress, so I really like it.
Yeah, of course. Well deserved too.
Yeah, so a memorable conference, I think that I will say Security Fest in Sweden.
Okay.
I just, like, of course, I went to a lot of black hats and went to RSA sector. I didn't speak at DEF CON, but I was there too. And they are very good conferences. They are really the top. Like, I would say that Black Hat and DEF CON are really the top conferences, and they have the most exciting talks. But it's just that when I went to Security Fest, then I really experienced it like a small family. At least the experience that they give to us speakers. They, like, on the first day that we came, they took us to a nice meal in the city to like walk in the city, see it, have a nice meal of Sweden food. And when I entered the hotel, like a little bag with many, like a variety of Swedish candy was waiting for me there, with a small like note that said, "Or thank you for being here. We really appreciate it." Like, they really gave me a very nice experience. It's, of course, not. It doesn't have the talks that Black Hat and DEF CON have. Like, whenever, like, each talk that you see there is just groundbreaking and really changes our view on cybersecurity. But it's still very, very nice. Like, you get a very good experience going to Security Fest.
Yeah, and I'm 100% with you, dude. Like, obviously, Black Hat, DEF CON, that's like, ugh, like they have gravity. Like, the industry revolves around them. But I haven't been to Security First. It sounds phenomenal, but Wild West Hackin' Fest is a 900-person conference that's very difficult to get to, and it almost feels like a retreat than it feels like a conference, right? So, like, it's socializing, it's catching up with people. Obviously, there's talks and all the events and stuff like that. But it seems very similar in that experience. So I can totally resonate with you on Security First. How many attendees were there? Like not give me a head count, but I mean, was it like smaller?
Yeah, it was definitely smaller. It's mainly for Swedish people. It's a single track conference. I think maybe in the crowd there were about, let's say, 500 people, maybe something like that. Maybe 500, something between 400 to 800.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. It's very cool. Real quick, I do want to have a question, but this just occurred to me. I just want to share this with everybody. Like, Or's Twitter page, like, his banner is just him on Black Hat stage. No big deal. Just, presenting cutting edge, innovative research. Yeah, no big deal. Like, just such a, like, I got to tell you, brother, like, I think that is super cool. Like, I know it's just like a small thing, but to me, whenever I see it, I'm like, oh man, so cool. Like, so anyways, as one person who thinks it's cool, I wanted to share that with you. So we've got a couple people in chat who are like turned on by security research, right? They're like, holy, listen to Or talk. This is sick. Let's go. So if you were going to provide some guidance or suggestions to people who are aspiring to become security researchers, what would you tell them?
Okay, so I think that I have like a little bit of a different opinion about that than most people. I don't know if than most security researchers, at least not in Israel. I think maybe, like, as Israelis, we also generally have like a little bit of a different opinion about that. But I really think that in order to become a successful security researcher, you need to have like sick passion for it. So I think that that's at least my advice. It's pretty hard to say, but in my opinion, you better study security research on your own than taking a course or going to college or university. If you really believe in yourself and you think that you can become extremely successful in it, then you should probably study it by yourself with some guidance for what to study. Like, of course, start from the basic, like any software developer does, like operating systems, I don't know, processes, communication between processes in operating systems, assembly, and so on. But if you just get a list of topics and go online and study them one by one, you're actually practicing your auto deduction, in addition to studying the actual technicalities. Because for a security researcher, actually we didn't mention it at all because, like, I consider it as so obvious, but you must have a crazy ability to study alone. Basically, what you do every day is to teach yourself. You look at things, you understand how they work, and you teach yourself how they work, and then you document it. So you really must have a crazy skill to learn on your own, and there is no better way to improve this skill than just getting a list of topics with some guidance for maybe a friend that works in the field, or just look at topics of a course that is present online or something like that, and get into that. I don't want to like say do not study cybersecurity from courses or universities or colleges. But this is really an advice, I think, for someone that really, really believes in her or himself, and think that they can be extremely good in it.
I love it. I love it. And I'm watching chat, okay? Watching chat. And as you're giving that incredibly thoughtful, authentic answer, chat just stopped, which means collectively everybody was like leaning in on their computer, like hearing what you were saying. So thank you for that really deep, well-constructed response. Or that was special. Especially, it's funny, you said it's probably obvious, but you have to work alone for a long time. And I was like, that's not obvious to me. Like that, like I get that it's hard work and it's research and you're kind of in your own head building models, but you wouldn't necessarily identify quick that like you got to work alone and you got to be cool with that. So very, very interesting. Thank you for that. We've got just a couple minutes left. Or I know that this is a huge topic and ridiculous to ask you to do in 1 minute, which is why I'm going to do it. But let's get your 1 minute take on AI, right? AI, everything AI. What do you think AI is going to do to cyber, man?
Wow. I see a lot of a lot of ways that this can go to. I think that basically we are going to have a whole new industry that will be AI cybersecurity. Both some that use AI for cybersecurity, and both and also other that protect against malicious things that are done with AI. But basically, I think, to me personally, the thing that I'm most afraid of is how we are going to know what's true and what's fake. I can't imagine how we are going to deal with that, because once we have I am not sure what its name is, but like the thing that generates videos
Sora. Yeah,
by
Sora.
OpenAI, yeah, Sora, and the one that Google just announced. Then, like, how can you tell what's true? This is just coming now, but like looking 5-10 years to the future, I'm going to be able probably to generate this podcast using just a few sentences.
Yeah.
So, like, how would someone be able to know if it's really me or not? This worries me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope you're real, because I mean, you look quite real. But I'm 100% with you. And if we go into like Neuralink land, then all you got to do is like envision it and then let AI finish
Yeah.
the thought. So, yeah, it is absolutely bananas. So with like our last minute, or you had mentioned you got upcoming research that's yet to be disclosed, and including where it's going to be presented, right? Because CFPs are out, maybe it doesn't get picked up. Although, like, let's be real, you're going to be a headliner. I've got your website here, oryair.com. We also have your Twitter handle, or I had it in here, oryair1999. Where? Hold on, is that the year you were born?
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So you'll notice the gray in my hair, or that would be age just taking me away.
I'm starting to get some
Oh,
too here and here a little bit.
yeah. It just doesn't show up on camera, right? Okay, yeah. No, I get it. But hey, if people wanted to connect with you, if people wanted to follow your research, and just stay in contact with you, because you're a very interesting guy and you got really cool research. Where do you want people to kind of connect with you?
So feel free to just send a message both on Twitter and LinkedIn. That's completely cool. I'm really available. Get a notification right away on my mobile. So yeah, don't be shy.
Don't be shy. I love it. All right. Hey, Or, I want to tell you, man, I really, on behalf of all of chat, I mean, this hour flew by. Kimberly really captured it best with just, so authentic, so genuine, so much respect for your journey. Really appreciate you sharing not just your time and your research, because that's all very interesting and your time is obviously valuable, but also your experiences and kind of your like authentic self with us today. It's been an amazing conversation. I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was really great for me too.
Cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it. All right, everybody. Before we go, I just want to remind everybody that it's 7 p.m. tonight. So an hour and a half from now, Jesse Johnson's going to be ripping things up on Slay Security Plus, a live stream to help you crush your Security Plus certification. So if you're down with that, just go check it out in the links, or Kimberly can drop it in chat. I appreciate that. I'm Jerry from Simply Cyber. He's Yair, a baller security researcher, and y'all are Chad. Until next time, stay secure. Content. Keep the cybersecurity train going by connecting with the other Simply Cyber community resources. We have the Discord server that's lively and always keeps the conversation going. You can connect with me directly on LinkedIn. And also every single weekday morning on the Simply Cyber channel, we're doing live daily cyber threat briefings, 8 a.m. Eastern time, as well as Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We're doing live stream interviews with industry experts, and we produce videos that we push out every Wednesday